Rodri, the man who made a whole club's dream come true, the go-to man for Man City's big moments, the current Ballon d'Or winner, the current best player of the European Championships. And just like that, a bit like a joke, he is no one. He not only didn't manage to play a whole game at the Club World Cup, but was actually even subbed off after already being subbed on in the same game. It must be awful to be in Rodri's shoes right now. So, let's delve into the matter and answer the question, why is his situation so delicate? First things first, let's start with the optimistic resolutions. 3 examples of players who returned from a severe injury better than ever. And if Rodri wants to use the most iconic and widely spread comeback story in football history, we present Ronaldo Nazário, also known as R9. In November 1999, aged just 23, R9 tore his kneecap tendon, one of the worst injuries a footballer can sustain. After 5 months of rehabilitation, he returned, only to rupture the tendon again after just 7 minutes on the pitch. This occurred during one of the saddest evenings in football history, during a Coppa Italia match between his team, Inter Milan, and Lazio at the Stadio Olimpico. Everyone was excited about his return, but fate had other ideas. After relapsing with the same injury, fans thought his career was over. However, R9 spent almost 2 years fighting back and returned in late 2001. By the 2002 World Cup, he didn't just play, he dominated, scoring 8 goals and winning Brazil their 5th World Cup, including scoring 2 goals in the final. He won the Ballon d'Or that year, proving that you can return from a devastating injury and still conquer the world. Rodri could certainly draw inspiration from this story, especially as the stars have perfectly aligned for him. The 2026 World Cup is just around the corner, and he could very well recreate it. Another iconic example of an injury comeback is Xavi Hernandez. In December 2005, Rodri's idol tore his ACL during training with Barcelona. He was already a key player for the club at the time, and many feared that the injury would permanently slow him down. However, Xavi returned in April 2006, just in time for the Champions League final in Paris. Yes, he didn't play against Arsenal that night, but was there for his teammates. Then, in the following 6 years, despite an incredibly severe injury, Xavi displayed one of the most consistent midfield performances the world has ever seen. During that period, he won 3 Champions Leagues and the sextuple with Barcelona, as well as 2 Euros and the World Cup with Spain. He also arguably delivered the most iconic season ever by a midfielder, registering an incredible 31 assists en route to Barca's first treble in 2008-09. Or how about this one, which displays to us the most horrific injury of all 3 we have here. Alessandro Del Piero in 1998, when he tore both his anterior cruciate ligament, the ACL, and the LCL, the lateral collateral ligament. Put simply, this was twice as severe as Rodri's injury, with the Italian spending more than a year sidelined. He was Juventus's talisman back then, and many feared the injury would rob him of his agility and sharp turn of pace. When he returned, he initially struggled, but over time, he reinvented himself, evolving into a more complete forward with supreme technical ability and tactical awareness. By the early 2000s, Del Piero was again decisive for Juventus, qualifying them for the 2003 Champions League final. They lost this match to Milan on penalties, but Del Piero later lifted the World Cup with Italy in 2006. So, all these examples show that if you have the right mentality, you can come back even better after such an injury. However, the problem with Rodri is that he's not yet shown signs of returning to his former self. I mean, he does have time on his side at the moment, with 2 weeks of rest before preseason starts. We can properly assess the situation with him by the way he returns and performs for Man City in the first couple of games of the season. One thing is for sure though, he will become one of the few players to win the Ballon d'Or but then fail to be nominated the following year. Technically, the last player to fall into that category was Messi last year. After winning in 2023, he wasn't nominated in 2024, but he was playing outside Europe. So does that really count? The previous case was, ironically enough, again Messi in 2022. He won in 2021, but in Benzema's year, 2022, Messi wasn't even nominated. He was playing for PSG at the time, so that surely counts. Before that, it was Modric in 2019. Before him, we have to go more than a quarter of a century back to 1993, when the Ballon d'Or winner from 1992, Marco van Basten, was not nominated. And the reason? An injury. Yes, our most OG fans will recognize this story, which we've told before, so make sure to go and watch it on our channel. After being one of the best players on the planet for a long time, Van Basten sadly injured his ankle in the 1993 Champions League final against Marseille, which AC Milan ultimately lost. For a full 26 years, every single Ballon d'Or winner was nominated the following year, but Modric broke the streak in 2019. Rodri will become the third player in 6 years and the fourth in 32 years to share this rather shameful feat. So, let's say Rodri returns to his best. What would that look like? He forms a strong midfield trio with Tijjani Reijnders and Ryan Cherki, gets his favourite Man City back to their best, proves all the talk of Man City being bad because of his absence correct, and goes on to win the Premier League, beating strong competition from Arsenal and Liverpool. He possibly even wins another Champions League in 2026 and transitions his strong performance straight to the World Cup. Obviously, this is the best possible scenario. As for the worst case scenario, he could fall down the pecking order under Pep, who would feel obliged to play his new signings. After all, Nico González and Tijjani Reijnders cost Man City around €100 million in total, and they are two players who can do the dirty work in the centre of the park. Of course, they're not as efficient as prime Rodri, but Nico actually does have a very similar style to Rodri's. Even Pep's admitted it.
He's so young, 23. Remember, like a mini Rodri, in terms of, it's a big compliment, but he's had the feeling for the present, the big, you know, that have.
It's really tough being in Rodri's shoes, especially when his place isn't guaranteed. Yes, I can already foresee comments like, Rodri playing at 50% of his maximum capability is still better than Nico. I couldn't disagree more, because Nico is an exceptional talent who proved himself at Barcelona and at Porto, and only the circumstances prevented him from staying at Camp Nou under Xavi. The situation is therefore extremely delicate for Rodri. You can call us reactionary, but when you delve a little deeper, you'll see that nothing prevents anyone from enduring the worst possible situation. In this context, Rodri never returning to his former self would surely be the best possible outcome. And that's not even the worst of it, because if he doesn't play for City, he could lose his place in the Spanish national team too. Not playing for your country is what Rodri should fear the most, especially given the team's current strength and the hype surrounding the upcoming World Cup. And if City have 2 players who can replace him, Spain has at least 4 different options. Martin Zubimendi, for example, the new Arsenal player, embodies all the qualities you'd want in a modern defensive midfielder. He's calm under pressure, his passing is crisp, and he is intelligent in his positioning. He breaks lines without forcing it and reads danger before it becomes a problem, just like Rodri used to at his peak. He's already holding down that role for Spain, and he's trusted to dictate the tempo and manage transitions. With his upcoming move to the Premier League, his reputation will only grow. Just think, if he's so popular now, playing for Real Sociedad, imagine the hype around him when he plays for Arsenal. The same applies to Marc Bernal, if not even more so. The situation with him is a little trickier because the Barcelona midfielder is only 18, but he will have time to recover from his horrific injury, which sidelined him for most of the season. However, the fact that Hansi Flick trusted him last summer and was even willing to rely on him as Pedri's partner in the double pivot speaks for itself. The display he put on in those 3 La Liga games before his injury was exceptional. It was like watching Sergio Busquets in a younger body. It felt surreal, and given Flick's recent comments that Bernal could become the greatest midfielder in the world is another huge testament to his capabilities. Obviously, Nico González is the next Spanish defensive midfielder who can replace Rodri. However, what we said about him at City also applies to the national team. So, let's move on to the next one. Fabian Ruiz. If I said that Fabian is one of the most underrated midfielders in the world, I wouldn't be far off the mark. I mean, just look at how people talk about Vitinha and João Neves in that majestic PSG midfield trio. Yet, somehow, nobody mentions Fabian, who is also incredibly good, a versatile midfielder. The interesting fact about him is that he can serve not only as a metronome, but also as a modern defensive pivot. At 1.89 meters tall, he combines vision, calm ball control under pressure, and a wide passing range, completing a tournament-high number of line-breaking passes for Spain at Euro 2024. At PSG under Luis Enrique, he's become indispensable, averaging 6 goals and 11 assists this season, starting nearly every big match, even delivering a key performance in the Club World Cup, including scoring the opening goal for his team at the competition against Atletico Madrid. So, to get back to the main question, is Rodri really threatened about his future at both Man City and the Spanish national team? And, on the other hand, do you think that his rather rotational role at City next season could do him more good than harm in the long run? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Also, if you enjoyed that one, please consider subscribing to the channel or check our latest upload, in which we talked about why La Liga will have a big problem with Real Madrid next season. See you there.